It's the top 8, everybody.
Yeah,
We made it.
congrats.
Here
Congrats
we
to our
are.
competitors here. We saw Darkstream last round. That's the mono
Yep.
black aggro deck. And here is Snowman. Let's see.
Yep. Snowman is rocking Esper Control, and they're going to be our protagonists for this for this match. So this is Esper Control versus mono black aggro. So Snowman here is definitely going to want to see a longer game, I would imagine, in general.
Whereas you're right. They definitely want to see a lot. They've got Kaya, Intangible Slayer on the top end. Not a card you see a ton in Esper. I love it as a one of, but
so good.
But they're also playing a weird, not full on control, a little bit more mid rangey here. They've got 2 Tenacious Underdogs, the Esper Control deck, 3 Graveyard Trespassers, as well as a Liliana of the Veil. So a lot of kind of plays that are sorcery speed that you tap out on your turn for, which is not normally what the control deck does, but but this opening hand looks like a typical control deck. We've got Make to Spear on 2 into removal into draw more cards.
Perfect. Yeah, and you got the Tri-land on 1. That's never a bad thing to have. So yeah, this is good.
And this is another reason why I think Esper is the best control deck. Not only does it get to play the best cards, but I also think it's got the best mana. You've got the 2 fast lands. You've got the Tri-land. You know, decks like Jeskai and Mardu and stuff, they can have powerful cards, but like Jeskai missing that Tri-land is really painful, literally painful, because you got to play pain lands and stuff to make up for that. And it's just the opposite of what you want to do in control, is spend your life casting your spells. So
on the ladder, I've seen a couple of Jeskai decks and Jeskai control lists, and they have a lot of powerful options. And when it comes together, it's really frightening and looks excellent. But then, if you stop and think about it, it's like, well, why don't more people play this? It's like, well, because the mana is very awkward. It just is. And you see the same is true with, Sultai and Abzan and some of those other, the wedges, people just aren't playing them right now.
And that's part of it. The mana is rough, and that's what's crazy. Like, you look at it, you're like, what? But they have all these dual lands. It's like, yeah, but they're all coming in tapped unless you have 2 lands. And these kind of check lands and stuff. They're not amazing, especially in a proactive deck or when you want to leave up a counter spell and stuff. And so, yeah, just not having a Tri-land is a big deal. I think people underestimate how what a detriment that is, not having it. But anyway.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, no, I've taken 6-7 damage off of my pain lands throughout the course of a game, and that is brutal.
Yeah, I've been
all
there.
right. So Snowman rocking out the Tenacious Underdog, those lined up, and Darkstream had the cut down to answer it. So yeah, both decks running T-Dog. I'm kind of happy to see that, because
it's interesting in Esper Control. I think it's almost certainly not what you want to be running, but in the mono black deck, of course, it makes sense. But in the Esper Control deck, like, what, you're not getting, like, not playing a bunch of Lilianas to discard it, or I mean, they are playing 1 Liliana, but you're not getting a lot of value from it. Again, oftentimes in the early game, you want to be leaving up counters or Deluge or Emperor or your instants, your removal spells. And so normally you don't want to tap out on turn 3 in a control deck or turn 4 or whatever, but I guess it does give you a little bit of, pressure for their opponent's planeswalkers or what have you. I'm not exactly sure the reason it's in here.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting too, because it presents a situation where it gives, and we saw it here where Darkstream had a cut down. That was just going to be a dead card in Darkstream's hand. But it just lined up that it, Snowman gave them something to hit with it. And so here we have Sheoldred's Edict gonna take care of
Sheoldred's Edict. Yeah, I kind of like. I think the better play there is make Memory Deluge on end step. Use all of your mana, then untap, and you can put down an untapped land, Sheoldred's Edict, and leave up 3 mana for Void Rend. And if you found a counter spell, you could have even left that up. But
yeah, I like that.
But instead, they Edict on end step, so now they play a land, and now they're going to try and Memory Deluge, I guess, on their end step, on Darkstream's end step. We'll see.
Yeah, because Void Rend is available here, but I would imagine in this matchup you want to save the Void Rend in case of a Flesh Gorger or a Graveyard
Trespasser.
Yeah, you really want to use that to get around some ward. But here's going to answer the Evolve Sleeper, which it is a threat that's got to go at some point, but.
Yeah, it's not bad, and we have other answers to the graveyards and stuff. So you're right. I agree with you. I would have probably taken it there, but I'm not sure. It's close. We're getting a little low. We would have taken 6.
Yeah, Well, and you were commenting about how Tenacious Underdog maybe isn't a wonderful fit here, whereas in the, we see Darkstream using it to very good effect, because Darkstream, honestly, in this matchup doesn't care about losing a couple life here and there. It's not a big deal. Yeah, Darkstream is more than happy to spend 6-8 life throughout the course of this game to draw cards and deal damage. That's what they're here to do.
And at this point, exactly, like it works better for your play. It supports your plan A of let's kill the opponent as quick as you can in the aggro decks. And in the control deck, it doesn't support your plan of, as we see here, you're usually on the defensive, usually on the back foot as your opponent's trying to kill you, and you're the control player. You don't have time to tap out on your main phase for tap 4 mana, like all your mana almost, to blitz an underdog here. You've got to leave up your other stuff. You've got Emperor, you've got Deluge, you've got instants like, Make Despair and removal and stuff like that. So again, this is why Underdog, I think, probably shouldn't be in a control deck, but we'll see here. I don't mean to like nitpick and do, but when I see different choices in decks, it makes me want to like, what are we going? What is the reasoning here? Let me think of, is it good? Is it bad? Like I start, but maybe I'm overly critical, but
no, but it's a fair thought process. And I mean, honestly, like at this point, Snowman here is 6-1 on the day and has made it here to top 8. So
they're doing something right. Like, they know what's up. Yep.
But at the same time, you're right. It is an odd fit for what the deck is doing. It is definitely different. And so I would love to get their thought process on it. Because I'm not going to tell them they're doing it wrong, because clearly it is working here. But yeah, it's just, that's one of those where if, I was streaming and somebody said, hey, this is a deck I'm working on, could you check it out? That'd be one of the first things that I would comment is like, well, what's the underdog doing here?
Yeah. What are we doing with this here? Yeah.
You're going to be spending a lot of mana and it's going to be hurting you. Like, is that where you want to be? And it doesn't give you a blocker, like it's only good on the attack. So I don't know. Now, Snowman here is getting some really unfortunate draws.
We've got Deluge. This isn't the end of the world. We like making land drops all the way up to 7 or 8 because we get to Deluge plus play a spell perhaps, but in this case we can't. We can place Deluge plus cut down is not the most amazing thing, but okay, we're deluging in response, or maybe even waiting till end step here, because again, drawing cards. We're not drawing cards here, so Shoulder doesn't punish us. And this is where Deluge is very, very good, is against Shoulder, where you just don't care. You can still dig.
It's funny. That Farewell looks really nice here, I would say.
It's Farewell Emperor, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's what I would take.
Tough to go wrong. Yeah, it's interesting because, we were talking about the Chandra deck and how copying Memory Deluge off Chandra feels really bad. But the problem is a lot of the spells that feel good, copying off Chandra, like Thirst for Discovery, for example, which is another one that's legal in Standard right now. It has you draw 3 cards at the top,
Yeah.
Draw spells online. That hurts so bad.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, and that's why I think Sholdred is still very good, but has definitely is definitely not as potent as it was when Bankbuster and Fable and Invoke, or literally the 3 cards that got banned all draw you multiple cards. It's like, so Shouldered was amazing back then. Now she's still very good, but has lost a little bit of its luster, I think. I love the double Mirex here. That's the other thing I was going to comment on is I'm playing 1 Mirex in my deck, and I'm debating going up to 2. You have to be very careful with your mana bases. I see people playing way too many colorless lands in 3-color decks. Even Esper, even where, I said it's got great mana, it's got the tri-land, it's got 2 fast lands, really, really great. But I still see people pushing the envelope, and it's almost certainly incorrect. I've seen people play Mirexes and Field of Ruins for the opponent's Mirex, and it's like, you're going to lose games playing that many colorless lands in a 3-color deck.
Absolutely. Well, and I know it's easy to look at, Field of Ruin and just be like, oh, but it helps me fix my mana. It's like, but how much does it cost to do that?
When you can't really. Void Rend on turn, you're on the play, or you're on the draw, your opponent goes Graveyard Trespasser on turn 3, you have the Void Rend, you untap, and you have a Field of Ruin. No, you get to fix your mana, but it's a turn too late, and you did nothing that turn. You got to pay 3 mana essentially to fix. That's a huge cost.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
Anyway,
here we have a brilliant play. Here we have a brilliant play by Darkstream. So the Graveyard Trespasser was targeting the Evolved Sleeper in the graveyard. Darkstream hit Takanuma with the thought being, worst case scenario, pick the Evolved Sleeper back up, negate the Graveyard Trespasser trigger. Great. However, Darkstream found a Graveyard Trespasser of his own that he milled into and realized, you know what? You can get the trigger. I would rather have that because that eats your underdog.
Yeah, exactly.
That seems pretty good.
Back Trespasser, eat the underdog. Yeah, perfect. That was nice.
Yeah, lined up well. Now, Darkstream also has to go for the throat in hand, which could hit the other underdog, or could go after Trespasser. Now, there's the ward, which is a factor. So it's possible Darkstream is looking to try to set up some kind of attack with Sheoldred. They don't know the Emperor's in hand. It's probably reasonable to assume it's there because
I wouldn't. Yeah, I think if you're mono black, you're never. Yeah, exactly. You're never attacking into 4 open mana. Even if they don't have open mana, you know they can untap an Emperor, your Sheoldred. You're just never. You should not be attacking with your Sheoldred. Force them to use a card on it, not one of the Planeswalker's abilities, and they still get to keep their Planeswalker.
Right.
Wow. And Snowman just running it out here. I thought they might hang on to that, but okay.
Yeah. No, keeping it back would have been viable.
Maybe, yeah, they want to get aggressive here. They're going to put this graveyard up to a 5/5 and start punching. And that way they force the trade with Sheoldred, or you take 5 every turn, maybe 6 if they have creatures in the yard.
Okay.
But there's
that pulls the go for the throat.
And this is still on Darkstream's end step as well.
Yes. And so, Darkstream discarded a go for the throat to satisfy the ward, which is interesting.
Not looking great here. I might sandbag that land just because of Liliana, but they choose to play it. Minus makes it 2/2, and they've got Mirrex activations up here, but that's it. And those tokens can't block.
And another go for the throat. Oh my goodness. So Darkstream casting a go for the throat, discarding a go for the throat, then casting another go for the throat.
And again, this is where control, I really think you should not be playing creatures. All of their go for the throats would be dead this game. They would be having to use them on 2/2 tokens and whatnot. But instead, you give them targets, you give them things to eat with the Graveyard Glutton. Eating those underdogs is pretty bad.
This particular control list is not lining up particularly well against Darkstream's build.
Against mono black.
Because that main deck's a lot of removal, which, in general, you want to be dead, and it's just not. And this is great. You see, even though there's only one card in Snowman's hand, Darkstream's still giving him the respect and saying, "Yeah, I'm still not attacking with Sheoldred here." Right.
Still not going to risk it.
Because given Snowman's hand, actually, with a full attack, this would be. I'm sure this would be lethal, right? Because
I was going to say you could swing all at Snowman's face here, but if their last card's an Emperor, then they get you.
Yeah, or even I mean, there's a lot of different types of removal that would result in a pretty nasty blowout here.
I would trade with that Mishra's Foundry. That way, any Sunfall or Farewell can actually wipe the board here. But they have to chump. What am I saying? They're getting attacked for 6 here. Oh no,
no, that's all going at Emperor. Yeah. So by blocking the Glutton,
they're going to save it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and they can cut down T-Dog. Yeah, Emperor is now still fully loaded.
If they had sandbagged their land, they'd be able to actually minus Emperor and eat that Graveyard Glutton now. But they played the land, so now if they want to kill that Glutton, they're going to have to discard whatever they draw. Otherwise, if it's a good spell they want to play, they will not be able to eat the Glutton.
Right. Yeah, and here on end step, we have double Mirrex activation.
Yeah.
And
that's fine, but not impressive. These things can't block, but might as well do it.
That land off the top is a death sentence.
Well, we get to discard it to kill the Glutton at least.
That's something. But now Snowman is going to be empty-handed, so Darkstream's going to see there's no Emperor coming to save you this time.
Yeah.
So that Sheoldred can attack in with impunity, and that's that.
Yeah. Or it just sits there and kills you on your next draw step.
There was there was the life gained from the exile, but still.
Oh, sorry, it went up to 4. You're right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, Darkstream takes game 1.
Yeah, Sheoldred versus Emperor. The Sheoldred takes it down this time.
So how are we sideboarding here?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So looking at Snowman's sideboard,
Hullbreaker.
Interesting enough, there is one Hullbreaker in the sideboard, which I love that.
So I'm bringing in Sunfall, Farewell for sure.
Yep.
And then almost certainly going to be bringing in maybe Temporary Lockdown. I do like it eating the underdogs and the sleepers. What else? I think that's it. Maybe Duress, but probably not. If they're a low to the ground deck, I'm probably just bringing in Yeah, I'm bringing in the just the Wraths here. Now you could argue bringing in Sholdred or Chrome Host Seed Shark or stuff like that, but I think it's much better again when you don't have creatures in your main deck. Then you have a very high chance of your opponent siding out some number of Go for the Throats or cut downs or whatever. But as soon as you show them Underdog and Graveyard Trespasser in your main deck, they're not going to side out their removal, which means you can't side in Sholdred and Chrome Host Seed Shark. They're just going to get murdered. Right. So those kind of, I love siding into creatures out of the sideboard when your main deck is creatureless, because then you're really maximizing the chance that those cards will stick. And if Sholdred sticks, it wins. Right. So, but in this case,
that's the joy of those kind of more transformational sideboards, right? Is you give your opponent, establish your one, you give them the impression they're going up against one strategy, and then just juke and hit them with something completely different. It's a beautiful thing. And Control has a way to do that a lot of other decks can't.
Yeah, but only if you're, again, to maximize the effectiveness of that plan, you need to not play creatures in your main deck. As soon as you do that, that plan goes out the window because your opponent is not going to side out their removal. Like in this case, they're not going to side out much of their removal because they know that they're playing against, and they're not going to actually, they might even side in Sholdred's Edict because they saw the Trespassers. So I would be taking Kaya out. Wow, I would be keeping Voidrend in, and because Voidrend actually gets through all the ward and everything, but okay.
Yeah, well, in this case, Snowman is going for a seemingly more creature-heavy setup, bringing the Sea Sharks and whatnot, so we'll see how it plays for him.
Yeah, we'll see.
Huge shout-out to John Likes Games. Thank you so much for the raid. Oh, my goodness. If you are currently not following John, I highly recommend it. He puts on a killer show. So, John, thank you from the past. We see you. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your community with us. And welcome, everybody. This is the PizzaBox Open. We're playing Standard today, and we are in the top 8. This is the quarterfinals. We are going into Game 2 of Esper Control versus Mono Black Aggro.
Yeah, Mono Black up a game here as well.
Mono Black is up a game,
Control's on the play. And let's see if this Chrome Host Seed Shark, creature package out of the sideboard pans out. I expect this Chrome Host Seed Shark to get clubbed very quickly here.
There's a high likelihood.
With a Go for the Throat or with a Sholdred's Edict or what have you. We'll see. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
3 tap lands in a row, not ideal here, but at least we got Go for the Throat next turn.
Colors are fixed. There's
colors are golden. Literally.
Right. Yeah.
All gold lands here.
Pilfer coming in from Darkstream sideboard. That actually is kind of brilliant.
There's a few different discard effects that are seeing play out of the sideboards. There's Pilfer. We saw Dread Fugue. There's even the curtains, whatever that is. Concealing curtains. I've seen people even play that. I think good old-fashioned Duress is still the best, but Pilfer does hit Planeswalkers, so you do get to nab their Emperor or what have you. So I could see it.
I wonder. So we're in a situation right now where we have the 3-year standard rotation,
right?
But even without that, I wonder how long would it take for there to be a standard where Duress is not legal?
Never. I'll tell you.
And I'm
not joking. It's like saying negate or some kind of cheap count, either negate or essence scatter type effect. Those effects are always going to be legal in standard. They've learned that you always need to have effects like that in standard. Otherwise, things get out of control. Those are some of the safety valves on the format. Yeah, I'm not joking. Like you literally always see Duress be legal in standard in one set or another. It might not be the main set. It'll be some additional, like it used to be in the core sets, right?
And that's why I posed the question, because I can't imagine Duress not being printed in some limited environment,
right,
for the next 3 years. I mean, we've seen situations where Duress has been printed multiple times in the same standard. I mean, because there's so many limited environments where it's just a rock solid role player, and it's just good. Like it's just a good thing to have. And Negate is a great comparison as well. So Snowman hitting a Go for the Throat off the top right after Darkstream tapped out for Shieldred. So that's pretty tasty.
Pretty good. I assume he or she was gonna Sunfall here, but then they went end step Emperor and then minus, and I was like, okay, maybe they just want to make the Sunfall token bigger, and then they drew the Go for the Throat, which was perfect. Now Phyrexian Arena on the mono black side is going to keep them deep in the cards here, and you see 4 cards in hand here to Snowman's 1. That Arena's doing work, and again, Voidrend would be one of the clean answers to that card, but we sided them out, so I'm not sure if we can even get that Arena off the battlefield here. Farewell, I guess, is one way.
I mean, but I think that's it. Edict answering the Emperor, but even so, Snowman still, even as the control player, is on the beat down here. Oh, duress.
Yeah,
we were just talking about it. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I would bring in here.
Yeah, again, not the Nick Cage in a boat art, which,
sad missed opportunity.
Missed opportunity, but it's fine. It's fine.
But
still a good card either way.
Yeah. And again, Sheoldred's Edict, if you kind of assume they're going to have it in their deck, they might have even brought in more because you showed them Graveyard Trespasser in game 1. So I think Kaya is not amazing here. You should be siding it out against Mono Black. They're going to have a bunch of Edicts, and Kaya, very powerful, but not when it's killable by, with a 2-mana spell.
Right. Yeah, and the Graveyard Trespasser finding the Seed Shark in the graveyard. Yeah. That hurts. And that for Phyrexian Arena that's a game changer. I gotta say,
it's gonna win them the game. Yeah,
easy. Yeah, because drawing 2 cards every single turn, that adds up really fast.
Could see a blitz here. No, I would think about blitzing maybe, but no. Okay, are they gonna sandbag this?
I mean, possibly. I think you can cast it out and you still have the mana to activate Mirax. And so this could block the Trespasser, I guess, and casting it out here keeps it daytime. So that's helpful. But yeah, Darkstream is starting out with 4 cards in hand now, and the T-Dog in their own graveyard and Trespasser. They just have options. They just have so many options.
I don't know. I like blitzing there. I think I would have blitzed last turn and swung. Force the trade with the Trespasser otherwise. I guess they can attack back and eat the Tenacious Underdog, though, so there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's Liliana. Lots of tokens to sack, though. So Liliana pretty weak here. There's another Trespasser. Oh, boy.
Second Trespasser. That is not ideal.
Okay. This is looking bad for Esper.
And upticking Liliana. Going for the ultimate.
They don't need the pilfer.
Yep.
they don't need the pilfer in hand. They're like, yeah, I don't need this. Might as well toss it.
Yeah. Which is ultimately the biggest downside of hand hate, is that if it's late in the game and your opponent is empty-handed, it does nothing. But so here we have T-Dog crashing in on Liliana. Yeah, Darkstream is just gonna accept the trade here.
Yeah, that arena is gonna kill them, and we knew it. I mean, just drawing 2 cards a turn here is, the game goes long enough, they're gonna bury you, right? So you you needed to have an answer. Siding out those Void Rens, I think, was maybe a mistake here.
Yep, and that negate in hand, I wouldn't have done anything because the spell is Sheoldred anyway. But holding up a counterspell when it's your only card in hand and there's a Liliana on the board, that hurts. Yeah.
Eating the underdog here. Yeah. And I guess this is kind of a lesson in why, I think if you're going to build a control deck, omit the creatures. Just don't even play them, because they end up just being worse than your opponent's creatures. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned earlier with Underdog. But even with Trespasser and other stuff, I mean, their Lilianas are so much better against you. And I don't know. It's unfortunate, but the mono black deck showing why, it's the better deck to have these cards in.
Well, and it's interesting too, because Snowman's deck, it has a lot of the, it has the Memory Deluges, it has the Planeswalkers, it has the sweepers and the counters and the kill spells that you expect in a control list. And so the creatures feel a little off, because you could easily turn it into a mid-range list. You could easily have more creatures and lean on those to deliver some value, and hopefully end the game a little sooner, in which case you probably shouldn't have as many responsive control spells. To be fair too, Snowman didn't find Memory Deluge in this match at all. So as a result, running, drawing dead effectively was pretty nasty. Yeah, I'm just Foundry. I mean, the amount of power Darkstream just put on the board here is pretty nasty.
Yeah, and we're going to be ultimating Lily next turn.
Yeah, discarding Evolve Sleeper, not thinking anything of it. Yeah, that actually discarding Evolve Sleeper gives another creature for the Graveyard Glutton to eat. So, yep, that'll comfortably do it. So yeah, so I don't know if I would say this is a bad matchup per se, but yeah, it just did not come together for Snowman in this match, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love sacking those pests to make disappear. At first I was like, okay, this is interesting. It's going to be a way to end the game, but it's not as good as like Castle Ardenvale was in the control decks, or other, because those creatures blocking were so important for the control deck to stay alive. But these insects not blocking is pretty bad, but at the same time, you know, it's a much more aggressive land than Castle Ardenvale. Like that in fact, they might as well be 2/1 tokens, right? Because the toxic damage that they're dealing.
Absolutely.
So it ends up being a very aggressive land. So in a control mirror, it's a faster clock than it looks like. And as you see here with control all over the place in standard, 3 of the top 4 decks here are control decks. Mirrex is a land all of them should be playing probably more than one of. I would say 2.
2 feels
again,
right. Yeah.
You got to be careful in those 3 color decks, but yeah, 2 is probably okay.
Well, I'm checking, and so far, of the 3 control decks that we have here, every one of them is running Mirrex, and 2 of them have 2. So, yep, okay. That lines up. It looks like Eyelid's control deck only has 1, but otherwise, yeah, they're all running 2. And so Chris here kept kind of an aggressive hand, well, they mulliganed to 6 and kept a 2-lander, and then found their way into more lands. So, rock on. And here comes Silver Scrutiny. X equals 2.
Yeah.
So Watchwolf may have a counterspell open. I'm kind of be surprised if they don't. But then we have the age-old question. Do you counter the draw spell or do you counter what they find? And in this case, Watchwolf is countering the draw spell. And there's only 2 mana open.
I like that. That was a great counter there. No land drops. So you're you know, if you know your opponent needs lands or they need action if their hand is empty, then you always counter that card draw. But knowing that your opponent has no land drops here, it's a tough read. But Watchwolf pulls the trigger and correct.
So there's when the opponent mulligans and then you have an opportunity to hit ramp or card draw spells, then all of a sudden it looks a lot better. This one
resolving.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that could mean a couple things. It could obviously mean that they don't have a counter, but more likely, I think, is that they do have a counter, but it's their last counter, so they know they have to save it for something really threatening here and not just counter your card draw. So they don't counter the second deluge, which allows the land to be found. Now they did draw. Chris Super draws a tower off the top here, but still,
and they choose to play
for the next couple of turns.
Choosing to play the tower makes sense. They still have Emperor up. They have Void Rend. They have the Memory Deluge. And Disdainful Stroke and Dissipate. So they have hard counters for days. They choose not to throw the Emperor. Instead,
I thought they were going to Deluge again there. That's what I would have maybe gone for. But then you're discarding the hand size maybe. So, are you? Yeah, you are. You would have to discard 1, I guess.
Here comes Emperor, and that's going to eat a Disdainful Stroke.
Okay. D-Stroke.
Makes a lot of sense.
Interesting. Yeah.
And this is Chris Super's end step. So they have more mana open and another counter spell. So if Watchwolf did want to get into a stack battle, Chris was ready for it.
And they still have 4 mana up here to Deluge / Emperor.
Yep.
Which they
and
do.
Here comes Deluge. Kind of daring Watchwolf to counter this again, which this is looking good. I mean, Chris had kind of a rough start, but bounced back beautifully. So Mirrex and Dissipate. I love it. Oh. That's it.
Okay. I would get that Celestis into play.
That's probably a good idea. Yeah.
That's the kind of card that will actually win you the game. It feels like a Phyrexian Arena or something in these control decks where you're very easily able to control whether you're flipping it or not. And against the other control, like against your opponent, usually these decks are not casting things on the main phase. So your opponent ends up being the first one to allow it to flip.
Right.
Because you cast it, pass to them, and then they don't usually play something on their turn. They pass back, you flip it, you immediately get to start sculpting your hand.
Right. So Watchwolf hit the Memory Deluge there, and Chris Super had Dissipate up and chose not to use it. Now, in most situations, choosing to not counter the Memory Deluge, I'm not mad at. But the fact that Dissipate exiles.
Yeah, and that's very good. But more importantly, if they did go for Dissipate here, they wouldn't have a counter up on Watchwolf's turn. So if they counter there and then Watchwolf slams Kaya, they're screwed. Now they could have bluffed. They could have bluffed a 2 mana counter like another D-Stroke or something, but they would have had 2 mana up. I think at the end there they could have paid 6 and they had 8 mana. So they could have bluffed a 2 mana counter, but if they didn't actually have it in hand and it lets the opponent resolve something huge like a Teferi or a Kaya, you could be just dead to that.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, not worth going shields down. As tempting as it might have looked.
It's tempting. Yeah, very tempting. Ooh, an Impulse. I didn't see that in their list. Interesting.
Yeah, okay.
It's blue-white playing that. Yeah, that makes a little bit more sense. 3 Impulse. Huh. Okay. I guess it's pretty good with Seed Sharks and stuff, maybe. I don't know, to get value immediately.
Yeah, it's a 2 of. In general, I like Impulse. I think it's not a bad card.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not card advantage. Normally in Control, all your draw spells should be plus 1 or 2 cards. Like Deluge is a 1 for 2, and whatever Thirst for Knowledge, like whatever draw spell you're playing, it has to draw you 2 or more. Impulse just cycling is not ideal. The only way that's worth it is if you're getting value from casting the spell, like you're playing Monastery Mentor or whatever. But in this case, I think with Seed Shark, you want to play enough cheap spells that you can go turn 5 Seed Shark, leave up 2 mana. That way, at least if you don't have a counter, you can still get a 2/2 off the Seed Shark before it dies if they kill it. So I see it. I see why they're playing it. It's interesting.
And they found the second one as well. Which all right, get that selection.
They must have something good in their hand if they've doubled Impulsed here.
Right. But you're absolutely right. In decks that want to be casting lots of spells, be them Storm decks or, decks like Phoenix, in older formats where casting a lot of spells, all of a sudden, something like Impulse or, that in those decks that want Opt and Consider.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, like Impulse looks a lot better. That's definitely fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And now we have the standoff. So here comes Temporary Lockdown, which could hit those 2 mites. Which, honestly, if I'm Chris, I'm not too worried about that at this point.
Yeah. What is that card? I guess this is game 1. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're playing it. Okay.
So this is a situation where they can get some value off it. But Void Rend immediately. Just get it gone. All right.
Why? I'm very confused.
Well, because if you Void Rend because of the way it's worded, it's not worded like O-Ring.
Yeah, I get it. It saves their guys, but why do we care? We'll make more. We'll make more.
You'll make more, exactly.
Really? We're going to use a Void Rend on that? Wow, very aggressive. That is very aggressive. That's them saying, no, I want to kill you as fast as I can with these mites, and let's get this over with quickly. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that means, because I guess Chris Super's looking over there and going, they have way more cards than me. I need to get this game finished because the longer we go, the higher chance they have of winning this game. They have more resources than I do. They're going to win the long game.
Right.
Let me get aggressive here and try and push as much infect damage. Maybe I can steal this with tokens, but
and with the end step Mirrex activation, that puts them on a 2-turn clock. I mean, right now, so if Chris has the mana to activate Mirrex one more time, that's 4 toxic bites. That's true.
It's aggressive, but it might work here. And you're right. You're right. They have double hard counters. So, Watch Wolves is going to go for a Wrath here, and we're going to see it get countered, and then they're going to die. They might have to. They're going to either have a huge counter war here over this Wrath, or let's see. And with this many counters in Chris's hand, I feel like Chris is going to come out on top here. Yeah. So we're going to see another counter, and then another Dissipate here, and then the Make Disappears are going to come in at the end. And so Negate gets dissipated, and then it's going to be Make Disappears on the end. Well, they couldn't force them to tap their last 2 mana with a Make Disappear. They're thinking about it. There's multiple ways you could do this. I think this is better. Yeah. You dissipate the Negate, and then they try and counter or whatever. Make Disappear doesn't do anything. They need another hard counter here, and then you can make it disappear.
Right.
So nice. Yeah. But here now it's not lethal. If they have to pay 2 more mana for a Make Disappear, they can't put that 4th mite out, and they're going to be out of counter magic. And if Watch Wolves goes to 9 poison and then untaps and Wraths again, and they do have a second Negate. Wow. So that means that Chris Super is not going to be able to make that 4th token here.
Right.
And not kill Watch Wolves. So Watch Wolves, even though the Sunfall gets countered, they're not dead here. Right. Which is really important.
Absolutely.
They can untap and Wrath again. Oh.
But now we're at a point where Chris can get Watch Wolf down to 9 poison.
Yeah,
And then even if Watch Wolf has a Wrath here,
just make more.
Let it rip, make 1 more on end step and call it a day.
Yeah, it's got to be Wrath plus like Wandering Emperor here from Watch Wolves, which is probably not enough to. Oh, the Field of Ruin way too late.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. That would have shut it down. Yeah, Farewell's too expensive. So I mean, and and Chris can absolutely casualty and Make Disappear just to force Watch Wolf to tap down. Yep. Yeah. Because if it was another Sunfall or something, or if it was a temporary lockdown, then we might be okay here because we'd see well, we could pay for the Make to Spear, but we could also play an Emperor or something to eat their, or, you know, cut down or whatever to eat their next might on their turn that they're going to make on end step. But
yeah, and if Watchwolf had the means by which to hit the Field of Ruin first and then wipe, then it would have looked a lot different. But Farewell,
they dug they dug quite deep too. They had double impulse. They had yeah. They were digging, but they couldn't find that field fast enough. And looks like the Murex takes us over the line. So interesting play from Chris. Very good read there, saying, you know what, I am going to go all in here and be super aggressive and just try and win with Murex. And like I was saying before, I think that's the best win condition in Esper Control. You don't need to play all the flashy playing like Teferis and Kayas and stuff. And that's what we see, exactly what we see Chris playing here. It's Wandering Emperor and Mirexes, a couple Seed Sharks. That's it. No fancy top end.
Right. So, yeah. Well, and it's funny because I associate Murex as like a way to get an edge if both players are in top deck mode. But in that situation, Chris saw even in the mid game, no, Murex is going to get me there. I got to go. And it worked. That was really well done. You know, it's not necessarily the play pattern I associate with it, but doggone it, it worked. And
in the control mirrors, it feels like that's the plan. It's a risky plan. You're like in this matchup, you're not playing against the 3-color deck. You're playing against blue-white control, so they have Field of Ruin in their deck. So that makes the Murex plan a lot more shaky here, and Chris knows it. So gonna have to lean harder on other threats. You see Chris bringing in Seed Sharks and stuff, knowing that Murex might not be able to be relied on to win the game like that every time. Actually, again, kind of lucky that that Watchwolves didn't find that Field of Ruin earlier, to be honest.
Yes. But, no, that's huge. That's absolutely huge.
March, Duress. What else is there to bring? I like Razorlash Transmogrant here against the control decks. In a control shell, it's really sweet to side in a cheap, aggressive threat like that, because it's usually gets in for 6 or 9 damage before the opponent can really do it. The opponent's going to take out their cut downs and all that stuff because you're a control deck. So when you get to side in, again, some creature package like that, it ends up being really effective sometimes against but in this case, they're a 2-color control deck. So you're not bringing it in because you're never able to bring it back for 2 mana. But in other control, in the Esper Mirror, for example, we might see that come in. But here, Chris leaves it in the board. Rightly so, I think.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. And here we have turn 1 Duress.
Not a great hand, though.
2 negates, the Memory Deluge, Sunfall.
Yikes.
I mean,
if they had 1 negate here, I'd be taking negate for sure. But with 2 negates, you can't keep them off the counter, so they take the Deluge. And we only have 2 lands over here, so nice pull. Siphon.
Perfect.
Yeah, because otherwise we would have to siphon on main phase, and that's ugly.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Off the Murex.
Yeah, so the Darkslick Shore, perfect draw. If I had to pick any draw in the entire deck, that was it.
That was a good one. Yeah. Siphon, probably taking a land here if I had to guess.
Dissipate.
Interesting.
Perfect.
That's very aggressive. Dissipate. I love it though.
It is, but I mean, getting rid of a card draw spell that has flashback. I mean, Dissipate is here for flashback. It is what it is. Now
you're right, but yeah.
But Murex now, it was a white source on Chris's turn, but it no longer is. So the Wandering Emperor, there was a very small window where that was viable, but you got Murex now. So
it's what we were saying earlier with Murex and the play pattern that you have with Murex plus Emperor and Memory Deluge. You get to go, I'll leave up Emperor, Deluge, and Murex, and your opponent goes, well, god damn it, I have these, negates or whatever, but in that case, you're Chris and you're going, well, I have Emperor here, but obviously, I can't. He couldn't cast it in this spot. But even if he could, I think you're still Murexing there because it's free, and you're not going to get punished by negate.
Well, and these answers are so interesting because those negates are really powerful cards if you try to rock, Emperor or something of that nature. And the Sunfall, Watchwolf could play Sunfall to get rid of these 2 mites, but then Chris just rocks on another one end step, and they're not that far from where they started, so that doesn't feel good. I don't know. It's interesting. This is
Watchwolf's in trouble here. This early Murex is gonna do the same thing it did last game and win the game for Chris. So they Watchwolves really needs to find a Field of Ruin here.
Absolutely.
Chris ditching an Edict. Interesting. I thought he might ditch Make Disappear here, but Or
Dropping
Sea
the
Shark.
Sea Shark.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, but fair enough. Going
We've
all in
got
on the
the
Mirrex
Mirrex.
plan. So
yeah, we've got the Mirrex. Let's go for it. I just hope Watch Wolves doesn't draw a field here.
yeah, that would definitely be dangerous. So they do find an island, or they find a land, but it is an island.
Mm-hmm.
All right, end step. Do we have more Mirrex action? There it is. There's a third Mighty Mites. Yeah, and Chris hasn't drawn any more land, but honestly, it doesn't look like they're going to need to.
Crazy. And it's funny, we were just talking about how good this card was and saying that's all you need. And like, it's so weird, you know, again, there's a bit of luck here because we know that Watch Wolves does have Field of Ruin in his deck and could have easily pulled, you know, one of them here, but
yeah, and here comes Sunfall.
Why not? Yeah, we've got double Make Disappear.
And you can casualty it.
We can afford to casualty.
Yeah, lose one Might. It's not a big deal. Because, yeah, even 2 Mites are still lethal. And then you have another Make Disappear if they have some kind of follow-up spell. So, yeah.
And with no black mana over there, you're not worried about cut downs or anything. They didn't even leave white untapped, so they couldn't... Oh, they played a tapped white source, yeah. So they couldn't leave up, like, Elspeth Smite. Yeah, that's it. Mirrex, 2 games in a row going the distance.
This video is brought to you by MagicJank.com, the spiciest cards for your sauciest decks. Buy and sell Magic the Gathering products and gear today on MagicJank.com.
Looking for the latest comic book to add to your collection? How about the last card for that Magic the Gathering Commander deck? Well, the comic book stores got you covered. Shop online at comicbookstore.tcgplayerpro.com or come in person at 30 North Main Street, Glassboro, New Jersey. Pizza people, are you enjoying the content? Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. It's free. Hit that bell icon as well. That way, anytime any of our new content comes out, you're able to see it right away. Hey, leave a comment down below as well. Tell us what you're going to play in the next event, or tell us what you're enjoying about the video. Don't forget, check out the description too. We've got tons of great content down below. And on top of that, we're going to have our tournament schedule too. So get in on it. Hope to see you.
There's the reason Field of the Dead is banned in Historic, for God's sake. Never
mind
all the other formats. It's so good. Like, having a land be your win condition is so subtly powerful. I mean, we've seen the creature lands be insane. Like the AFR creature land cycle is fantastic. Even way back in the day, I've killed many people with Celestial Colonnades and, died many times to Raging Ravines and, whatever it is. But,
which is funny, too, because those ones specifically have not aged super well compared to a lot of the other creature lands.
Yeah,
but you're right. Just being creature lands is enough in a lot of matches. To
being
win
a land is very powerful. All right, here we go. We were in the side of Mono Black here. Here's the finals, everybody. Esper Controlled versus Mono Black. Let's go Esper Control.
Not biased at all.
I mean, haven't we had enough of Mono Black really by now? Like,
honestly, we have watched Darkstream really crush it today with this Mono Black list. And even since the last rotation, Mono Black has been a solid contender consistently.
Yeah.
So, Chris is debating on what to play here. The Rafine's Tower, given their hand, is excellent, honestly, just because you don't have a 2-drop anyway. And at this point, because of that duress, Darkstream has seen pretty much all your cards. So, there's really no harm.
Pretty lucky. Darkstream drawing one of his 2 duresses here in the first couple turns against the control deck is pretty lucky. That's exactly what you want to have happen. But we'll see if it's enough, because this is the problem. You play things like duress, and you're not actually advancing your game plan of kill your opponent here. So the duress means there's only one threat on the field. Liliana not really doing much damage or anything, can die to Void Rends and Edicts and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see what happens here, though.
Yeah, so Chris has the Dissipate up. Darkstream knows it's there. And, I mean, Liliana is pretty aggressive. Being able to hate on Chris's hand is a big deal. However, right now, Darkstream only has 3 cards in hand himself and discarded a swamp to Liliana last turn. Hasn't played a land yet this turn. Going for the uptick.
Yeah, I would be discarding... I was going to say I'll discard Swamp here, but I would be attacking with Mishra's Foundry underdog here and just not playing anything, trying to put my opponent under some pressure. The Sunfall's coming soon, but it looks like they have no other removal in their hand. They have 1 unknown card. So I'd start just trying to pressure them as quickly as possible and discard the land here. And maybe that's what they do. Looks like they're going to do it. And then, you know, after the Sunfall, we can play our Trespasser and continue the damage. But for now, we know the Sunfall's coming in a couple turns. There's no point in playing a creature. The Sorin's just going to get dissipated. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's close.
Okay. Yeah, I like this from Darkstream because it's playing super aggressive. You know, like by squeezing the hand of Liliana, they are losing resources to do this. Like it is costly, but if Liliana can hit 6 and they know full well Chris does not have an answer to an onboard Lily at this point. So yeah, exactly. You can Mishra attack in.
So tossing the Graveyard Trespasser, opting to continue to make land drops here. That's fine too. Both those lines are almost, you know, equally good. And that's why I think Darkstream was in the tank so long. Like, oh my God, what should I discard here? It's all very close, but I like discarding the graveyard, sure.
Yeah, and then we'll see, drawing a swamp here. That is a pretty easy thing to discard, but...
Well,
okay, casting out Sorin, this is likely to get dissipated, but that also prevents Chris from having the mana for Memory Deluge here. And so now you play the swamp out, Darkstream can now uptick Liliana at no cost effectively because, they're out of cards.
But you're all in on this Lily now. They were gunning for the hoping that Chris, what you just said. Like if I make them not deluge this turn, then hopefully they will not have an answer to Lily here. But if they do have an answer to Lily off the top, or if it was just their last card or whatever, okay, so they have to Sunfall.
Yeah, Sunfall, and now Liliana is at 6. That could gut, Chris's mana base pretty hard.
It's true, but then we need to continue trying to kill them. I'm not sure how. Like we've only got a Mishra's Foundry here.
Honestly, I think an uptick here to force a discard on that last card and keep Liliana around.
Yeah, might be better.
That looks good to me, but
it's a little risky. But because they've got a 1/1 here, they can attack and then put Lily back down to 6. Either way, though, it's close.
Yep. All right.
Let's see how they split this.
Yeah, here's the stack. What do we got?
White mana in one pile, black and blue in the other.
All right. So if Chris decides to keep Mirax, they keep the Rafine's Tower, Mirax, and the Incubate token.
Yeah, interesting split.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Lily splits are interesting. I mean, there's so many things you're thinking about here, right? If you're Darkstream, like not only what cards are we allowing them to play if we split it like this and that? What cards are they most likely to draw here and play? What are the best cards against us? Blah blah blah. It's hard to figure that out, but let's see.
Well, and Mirax has been fantastic here. We've seen it do some killer work, but Chris is willing to sacrifice it.
Yeah,
and here comes the Foundry.
Yeah. He needs double blue for Dissipate, so keeping the colors consistent and good here is pretty important. Double white for Emperor, and there's the 4th land. So now, if Chris has basically anything here, from Cut Down to Wandering Emperor to a lot of outs will get him out of this, but Darkstream is getting very lucky here, fading a lot of draws from the control deck. That Celestis is going to do work, helping to dig, gaining a little bit of life. Even that 1 or 2 points is, negating a Mishra's Foundry swing here. So, there's the first life. And that was free. Didn't have to actually pay to activate it.
Right.
Yeah, discarding Make Disappear.
Discarding Make Disappear. Siphon Insight. That's not, I mean, it's something.
The main deck Siphon, I don't know if that's going to stay in post-board. We'll see. But
wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. And here comes another Siphon out of the hand. Okay.
Playing 2 spells here is important because it flips the Celestis back, taking us to 5. That puts another turn on the clock from the Mishra's Foundry. Now it's going to be 3 turns instead of 2 to kill us, or to kill Chris, I should say.
Yes.
So Darkstream is he's got to put something together here. But I mean, it's just he's at the mercy of the top of his deck.
Oh, that Flesh Gorger looks pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, and actually, this swamp coming down would mean a full price Flesh Gorger.
Yeah, are you doing that though? Yeah, I think it's probably better to just swing 2 and play Flesh Gorger on 3. Flesh Gorger means they have to wrath this, right? They can't target this with anything unless it's a Void Rend. So this is better because we don't need a 7/7 or 7/5. We just
that'd be a bit overkill.
Damage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Chris with a bunch of cards. So 2 cards off the top of Darkstream's deck, as well as 2 in the hand. Celestis is on daytime here. So they could pass the turn, flip to night, go to 4 life, then target the Flesh Gorger with something to kill it. Although, again, Go for the Throat doesn't target, Cut Down doesn't hit it. So the only things that would kill Flesh Gorger, you wouldn't pay the life for anyway, which is Void Rend and Shouldered's Edict. So I think no matter what removal spell they have, if Chris does have a removal spell here, the only one that actually makes him pay the life is Wandering Emperor. So if they do have an Emperor here, that's pretty insane. They get to pay the 3 life now to target the Flesh Gorger, gain 2 back. And that keeps them alive against the Foundry.
And now with that other Foundry, though, that means the Mishra's Foundry that can attack can buff up to 4.
Hold up. Yeah, now that top deck Mishra's Foundry. Oh, but the cut down. Oh, but they're going to pump it.
In response, pump it. Yep. Do it.
Oh, did they not realize? Oh, it's attacking creature. Oh, yeah, you can only pump attacking creature.
You're right.
Right,
okay.
right. I never play with Foundry. I forget.
I don't either.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, target attacking except like worker gets +2/+2. Dang.
Is it a Wandering Emperor? No, he goes to 1.
All right.
Interesting. Has a Siphon in the yard. It's a Deluge out of the hand.
Digging.
Definitely. I mean, almost certainly has to find a removal spell for this Flesh Gorger here. There's no way he doesn't find one by this point. The worst thing that he could find here is a Wrath, though, to get rid of it, because then he would be dead to the Foundry. So yeah, it's got to be a spot removal.
So Chris needs to find like a Void Rend and something that can take out the Foundry. Is ultimately what they need to find.
Which is there's cut down and stuff like that, but there's no way to kill it until they activate it, which is kind of annoying.
Right.
But even just 1 Wandering Emperor here is good enough to carry or to get Chris right back into this. We do have the Shouldered's Edict here. We'll eat the Emperor, but the damage it'll do will be pretty good.
Well, no, because if Emperor drops and down ticks on the Flesh Gorger, the ward will resolve before the life gain. So, yeah.
Oh, so yeah, right.
Chris would still be dead because of Flesh Gorger. Yeah, Flesh Gorger was one of the best creatures Darkstream could have found here.
Yeah. Last turn we could have done it when they were on 4 life, but not now. Now we're on 1 life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting the GGs ready there. Which emote should I go with here?
Yeah, when that's the decision that when you've reached that decision point, you've had a good game. Yeah,
I think it's a little premature for that. There's a lot of like 3 cards in their hand plus is there another card of ours under? I can't tell from the top there. Next to Memory Deluge.
There's one more,
right?
One of the siphon cards is still there, yes.
Yeah, I think so. I can hardly tell, but okay.
All right, here we go. So Darkstream's gonna go for it. Let's see what happens.
Okay, might see another cut down here into Shouldered's Edict or something. Because that's the other thing. If they have Shouldered's Edict, Chris has to be very careful about edicting because they can just activate Foundry and sack the Foundry. So here, if he has an answer to Mishra's Foundry into Shouldered's Edict, that would be the nuts here. That would be perfect. Or a Wandering Emperor maybe eats the Foundry. No, that doesn't do it either. That's 3 life.
Emperor drops, eats the Foundry, Edicts kills the Gorger. That would do it. Potentially,
something like that. Ooh,
Void Rend on the Gorger. Okay, cool.
Void Rend MVP, and now do we have an answer to Foundry?
That is the question.
We shall see. 3 mana left,
and it being an artifact creature means that it does not have a throat.
Oh, it's GG.
That's it. Oh man.
All right, Chris keeping us in suspense until the very end here.
Absolutely.
Could not find it. All right, Foundry goes the distance. Very lucky top decking that second Foundry. That was nice.
Yep. And actually, I did take a quick look at, Chris is also streaming, so I popped into their channel and checked. They had a Wandering Emperor and a Farewell in hand. So,
Wandering Emperor,
great cards,
damn.
But
so close.
It didn't line up quite right. Yep.
Just 1 mana short of casting Emperor there at the end too. That's super close.
Yeah.
So as far as sideboard. Yeah, what are we bringing in here? The Duress is maxing those. Pilfer, of course, maxing 100%. Those.
Yep.
Planeswalkers, Arena, of course, maxing that. Yeah, a bunch of sticky threats here.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the 4th Arena is for. That's why that's in the sideboard for this match. Yeah.
Taking out all the spot removal. So again, this is exactly how these decks will sideboard against control. They'll take out their Go for the Throats, take out their cut downs, all that stuff. So this is where I like bringing in the creatures if you're the Esper deck. Bring in the Seed Sharks. Now you bring in the Shouldereds. There's almost nothing that kills it there. Just Edict and Liliana, and that's it. Otherwise, they have to, I don't know, pilfer it out of your hand or whatever. So we'll see if Chris goes with something like that, but I don't think they have. Let's see. Yeah, they have a couple Sholdred and a couple Seed Shark in the board. I wonder if they're going to bring it in, hoping that the mono black deck sides out their removal like they did. We'll see. Should be interesting. But yeah, I like mono black's deck. Mono black deck's sideboard seems good. Yep.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I feel like this, we've seen various flavors of mono black over the last year or so in Standard, and I like this one. I think it has the right balance of some of the strongest cards leveraged correctly, and the curve is exactly where you need it to be. And I love Phyrexian Arena in that list. I think it is poised to be just really solid. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Arena. It's weird. It feels clunky, especially in an aggro deck. Like it's this weird, it's a 3-mana play that doesn't do anything when you play it. Like it's in a deck that's trying to play to the board and get your opponent dead. You've got Graveyard, you've got Phyrexian Fleshgorger on 3, and then you've got Phyrexian Arena. It's weird. It doesn't jive with the other 3 drops that are all attacking and being aggressive and
Right.
But yeah, it's hard to get off the board, and it's gonna win you the game if the game goes long. So I like it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and being able to, drawing 2 cards a turn, because at the end of the day, the way control is going to beat you is card advantage. That's how it works. And also, I love the way that Darkstream just organizes his hand. I'm going to start on the right. I'm going to work my way left.
This is the curve that I'm going to play. Yeah.
This is the plan. Like, all right, respect. All right, so that Dissipate, I think, has got to go here, right?
Yep. Turn 1 duress.
Chris also sitting with 2 Murex in hand.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're happy with that.
I don't know. Are they? I don't know if I'd be happy drawing both there in my opener. This is one of those awkward moments where you're like, the colorless land. I love Murex, and we just spent a while talking about how good it was. But
yeah, we've been gushing on it a lot. But yeah.
Here's the other side of that coin, which is you cannot be too greedy. You cannot play 3 or 4 Murexes. You can't play 2 Murexes and 2 Field of Ruins in your Esper deck. I see people doing this, and I'm like, that seems so greedy. Oh my god.
Oh,
you're not being honest with yourself about how many times that is costing you the game.
Yeah, and as a result too, Chris just had to play a main phase Siphon Insight. And it was their only unknown card. Because Murex was only black on their turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's funny that first Siphon Insight stole a swamp off of Darkstream's
deck,
which
needed the
to
land.
be fair, Darkstream has the fancy Infinity swamp, so that's pretty nice. I'd want those too.
Those are sweet.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. And here comes Liliana. Liliana's strong here. Yeah, but Darkstream has T-Dog. That's... Yeah. And Chris, sure enough, discarding the Murex because it just wasn't what they needed.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so here we see another Foundry. Now we can pump and... oh, no, we don't have enough mana to pump the Foundry.
Not quite.
So
yeah,
Sholdred coming down, or Sorin, coming down.
Sorin coming down, going just for the card draw immediately. Just
always.
The Vamp is nice, but
Well, they have cut down in their hands, so the Vamp's just going to get wrecked. Also, you want to get the card immediately from the Planeswalkers when you're playing against a deck that has a 1-mana answer to your Planeswalker. So if if they play Void Rend, they play Shouldered's Edict, they play ways to instantly kill your Planeswalker, get that card draw immediately. That way, if they kill it, you're up a card. You didn't lose a card. They're down a card, not you. And the 2/3 doesn't matter here, not yet. Eventually, it'll be relevant, so maybe we put it out here to bait the cut down. That frees up the sleeper, lets the sleeper maybe stick. Yeah, Shouldered's great here. Obviously, we want to play 2 creatures though, or 3 creatures for that matter. But I would be Sorining first here, because then they cut down your Vamp. But I guess you have to do all 3 because
Yep.
But still,
put them all out.
Yeah. I like going Sorin minus and then pass through combat. And as soon as you go to combat, your opponent, a lot of opponents want to just skip the turn. Okay, all they're doing is this. They'll cut down the vampire as you go to combat, thinking that's the end of your turn. And then you play Swamp and then Sleeper. And then they're like, oh God, now
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. But here we go. So Shieldred's online. Yep. Darkstream has the lifelinker. Yeah, and Shieldred. So here we have a situation where, Chris's old friend Murex is here, but Darkstream can tangle with it, unlike the previous opponent. So those mites are not looking quite as impressive.
Yeah, the mites here, sadly, just being make to spear fodder. But yeah, we're unfortunately out of gas, and Siphon Insight not great. It found us a land there, but I really think that card should be taken out in this matchup. I don't know. But we need a memory deluge for Chris, and Darkstream doesn't need anything. Darkstream just needs to sit here behind Shouldered, and they're probably going to Mishra's Foundry kill Lily this turn, plus Sorin.
Yeah,
are they going to minus Sorin? I would be plussing Sorin here personally.
Yeah,
you have the arena drawing us cards as well, but I think more cards, more good. Yeah, always more cards.
Generally, yes. And losing 3 life here, that's whatever. It's not a concern.
Yeah,
in the slightest. And and here comes Tenacious Underdog. That produces 3 damage, which is enough to take Lily out.
Yeah, no need to burn the Edict here. Not when we can save it for a scarier Planeswalker like an Wanderer or Teferi or whatever they play.
Yeah, and Darkstream playing aggressive, attacking with Sheoldred. So now if Chris top decks Wandering Emperor, Sheoldred is going to get.
Yeah, that was an interesting attack. I'm not sure if I like that. I mean, they are top decking, so maybe it's like, what are the chances here?
I mean, at the end of the day, go for the race, go for the kill. Sure.
Still, I feel like it's safer to sit back on Shouldered. I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, it's you lose to one thing or you lose to the other. If you attack, you could get wrecked by Emperor. If you don't attack, then they Wrath, then you feel like you missed out on 4 points of damage because the Wrath kills it anyway, right? So
true.
Yeah, it's choose your poison, pick your poison kind of situation.
Yep. And so here Sheoldred's going to take out one of those mites, which that doesn't feel. I mean, normally that wouldn't feel great, but in reality, 2 poison versus 1 poison. I mean, that's pretty significant.
Cuts your clock in half, so you're adding half of a 50% more to your clock, which is pretty nice.
Well, and on top of that, Darkstream's drawing 2 cards a turn. There is Shelly, they have the Foundry, and they have another Sheoldred's Edict in hand. So even if a Walker shows up,
this is 8 damage plus 2 on the draw steps, so they need to have an answer to Shouldered here, or at least something to kill the Foundry. But they say GG's.
Yep.
And that's it. Mono Black taking it down.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Darkstream looking just untouchable today. Has had a heck of a run. And that Mono Black deck delivering a ton of heat. Honestly, there was they're 9-1 on the day. Only loss was against Esper Control in round 5.